Hello, and thank you for listening to The Bows Knows, a podcast about QI Roberts Junior Senior High School in Putnam County, Florida. I'm your host, Mr. Bows, and today we have a special episode for you. We have an interview with two different alumni that I conducted at two different times and put them together into one episode. And hopefully during this episode, you will hear a little bit different audio quality. The Bows Knows was a proud recipient of the Putnam Education Foundation's Grants for Great Ideas, and they provided us with $1,000 to outfit a podcast studio. So we have 6 professional level microphones and a mixer to record and do all of the podcasting with. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that does in the future. So without any further ado, we have a QI alumni that have agreed to come back and share their college experience with us. Wanted to say welcome and thank you for joining me today. Please introduce yourself, telling our listeners who you are, what class you graduated from, and where are you now?
So hi guys, I'm Morgan Goeckel. I'm from the class of 2019, and I'm currently a senior at Mercer University in Macon, Georgia.
Thank you for joining me. And the podcast starts out with the same 4 questions, the first of which is, what is your favorite subject or topic in school and why?
Ironically, English. I'm actually minoring in English, and I'm getting my degree in secondary education for English. So that's kind of all I stick with right now.
That's great. We always need more quality teachers, and I'm sure Putnam County might have a job for you if you want it when you graduate. Next question, what is your favorite QI story or tradition?
So when I was at QI, that was when I was like a part of the 3rd graduating class. So obviously QI was still kind of like getting built up, figuring out what QI was going to be. And I remember my senior year was the year that we implemented pep rallies. And so now that I'm seeing everybody like posting, that tradition still goes on. And I remember we had like our first night mascot it was just like a little simple, like, I don't even know how to explain it, but it was just a really cheap, obvious, like, night mascot. So I don't know, that's something that always comes to mind.
That's good to hear. The pep rallies do seem to be a recurring theme amongst current students as to their favorite tradition. And I'm happy to say we have upgraded that night mascot since then. Next question is, if you could have coffee with anyone dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a really hard question. Oh, I don't know. I guess John Lennon. As weird as that sounds, I feel like I'd love to sit down with John Lennon and talk to him.
I think that would be a great coffee conversation. John Lennon is a first for the podcast. Last question I have for you is quality, integrity, respect, which one and why?
I think I'd have to go with quality, because I feel like if you represent quality exactly how it should be, all the others follow along with it. You know what I mean?
Now let's move into the alumni-specific questions that I have. The first of which is, what was something that came easy to you in college?
I would probably say the expectations, because I don't know, I think QI really prepared us for that kind of college-esque expectation. And I'm going to a fairly rigorous school. Like Mercer's known for being very hard and having high expectations. So I kind of think that was easy for me to transition to, because I was already expected a lot from my teachers.
So the other side of that question is, what was your biggest challenge in adjusting to college life?
Yeah, so I don't know. I was really lucky to have a lot of amazing teachers that were willing to sit down and work with me and make sure that I like met where I was supposed to and get to where I was supposed to with grades and expectations and whatnot. But obviously when you're in college, it's kind of, you do that on your own. You have to hold yourself up to those standards and meet the expectations on your own. So I think that was kind of a hard transition, but I also had support at home and support from friends to help me get through that. So I think that was a little bit harder for me than I was originally prepared for.
Okay. Um, so kind of tailing off of that a little bit, what was it like? Do you think it was different for you going out of state and going a little further away from home than what some of our other alumni do?
Um, Probably. Georgia's very different than Florida. Florida, I always make the joke, Florida's its own beast. So everything in Florida is very, very different than kind of what I'm doing now. And talking to people about like my experience in school and just being around, I'm in a private school, so I'm surrounded by a lot of people that um not or I'm on scholarship, but others aren't necessarily on scholarship. Other people kind of have the funding to be there, however much it costs, kind of deal. And so growing up in Putnam County, I mean, you're not surrounded by a lot of wealthy families. You're not surrounded by a lot of that. So I think for me, going to Mercer, being out of state, it was a little bit of a culture shock because I had gotten so used to Putnam County being such a small, like little farm town. Like it's very small and knowing everybody. Um, but at the same time, Mercer is really small. Like I know the Mercer community, we take in 1,000 people per class. So it's not like we're looking at like UF standards where you're having graduation classes of so many more people. So
Okay, great. So what were some of the things you were involved in at QI in terms of clubs and extracurricular activities and stuff?
yeah, a little bit of everything. So I don't know if we still have it, but travel and tourism. I was like heavily involved within all of that, helped with planning the prom and homecoming, all of those committees. I was also senior class president my senior year. So I served a little bit of time on the SGA team. And then I played sports back at Palaca High School. So I played volleyball and softball, and I was the soccer team manager for the women's team as well. So I dabbled in a little bit of everything.
So did any of those activities translate to what do you do now? What have you done in college in terms of stuff beyond the classroom?
Yeah, I am a part of a sorority. So Mercer has a lot of different sororities than you would see at a regular, like bigger school. Our Greek life is primarily service oriented. So I've had the opportunity to kind of expand my service opportunities through my chapter of Chi Omega. And then since I'm an education major, a club that I was vice president of for a year called Mercer Educators in Action. So there we do a lot of outreach with local Bibb County schools, um, doing supply drives, going to the schools and help with activities, after school programs, stuff like that. And then I'm trying to think of what else I do. I'm in a couple like scholar clubs, and then our Panhellenic Council, I was on their exec board as well.
That's great. You're busy.
Yeah, I stay busy. I stay busy for sure.
Awesome. You kind of have alluded to it already, but do you think that you were really prepared for college?
I don't know if you can ever be fully prepared for college, if I'm gonna be honest with you. I definitely am beyond grateful for my time at QI because it prepared me in ways I didn't know I needed to be prepared for. Um, I definitely learned a lot, but as anybody, I mean, I moved away, I was gone from family. It took a lot of learning. There's a lot of things that I had to figure out on my own. Um, but academics wise, I felt like I was prepared.
That's good. And yeah, you're never really ready to be that far away from home. As
No.
someone who moved 4 hours away from home for school, so
Mhm.
um, so what advice would you give current QI students?
Um, I don't know how much it's changed since I've been there, but I think one thing, if I was talking to my younger self in my position, just stick with it. I remember my senior year, like I was so burnt out because I was just ready to go, ready to be done with school. And then I got to college and I was like, oh wow. it's not over. Like there's still more. Like it's not done. Um, and like I think QI is not always the easiest. We obviously held ourselves to high standards, high expectations, and it's not just because the teachers want to be mean to you. It's not just because QI is harder. I mean, it's all for a reason. And even though you may not see it at that time in your academic career, it's going to pay off. 4 years down the road, you're going to be like, thank goodness I took that class with Mr. Bose and he made me do my homework. So
That's great to hear. So we kind of talked, my last question for you, we kind of talked a little bit before I hit record, but what's next for you?
So I've already applied for this scholarship called the Fulbright Scholarship. I know it's connected with the U.S. Embassy, and we will find out later, hopefully, fingers crossed, but I'll find out if I'm going to teach English abroad in Cyprus for a year, starting in September. If that doesn't work out, I have a few graduate assistantship programs at Mercer connected to our graduate program where they'll pay for my school if I work for them for 2 years. So fingers crossed on those too, because that would be really nice.
Yes. Funded college is always the best type of college.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. I really appreciate you taking your afternoon to sit down and chat. Is there anything else you want to share with our listeners?
I guess I would just say, like, don't be afraid to kind of go wherever life takes you. I know when I was trying to figure out college at this time of the year, literally, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was, I was really nervous about stepping beyond what was comfortable. And I know that leaving a lot of people behind in Putnam County was really scary to me, and I didn't want to do that, but I did it anyways because my mom told me to. She's like, go, go. And so I couldn't be more grateful. Like, I've had an amazing time these past few years, and like looking back, I loved everything that I did in high school, but I'm so glad it led me to like where I am, and I'm glad I went out of my comfort zone.
That's great. So glad you're having you found success.
Yeah.
Many thanks to Morgan and taking time out of her busy day to give us an interview. The next interview you're going to hear is Mr. Logan Knowles, and he's going to tell us about his experiences. Welcome and thank you for joining me today. Please introduce yourself to our listeners, who you are, what class you graduated from, and where are you now?
Hi, I'm Logan Knowles, class of 2020. I'm down at UCF now, majoring in forensic science and general biology.
Awesome. And what year are you currently?
I'm technically a junior, but since I'm double majoring, I have an extra year tacked on, so kind of sophomore, junior.
Awesome. So first question for every podcast is, what's your favorite topic in school and why?
My favorite topic is probably just biology. It's super interesting to me to just learn about creatures around me, the world around me, stuff like that. Chemistry is up there as well, but that's a little bit more difficult, so I can't say I like it as much as bio.
Very good. Definitely not my favorite subject. Biology was not for me. So what was your favorite QI story or QI tradition?
I mean, the Powder Puff game was always great, just to go watch, eat some food, sit down with friends. So probably the Powder Puff game is one of my favorite traditions we have here.
Very good. If you could have coffee with anyone dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I think I have to go with Sir Terry Pratchett, author. He wrote the Discworld series and Small Gods, among other things. And he's just a really great author. He's very satirical, and I'd love to talk to him.
Very good. And then quality, integrity, respect, which one and why?
I'd have to go with integrity, I think. Just to be able to hold to your own values as you go through life is a really important thing.
Wonderful. So now we're going to get into the alumni-specific questions. So what was something that came easy to you once you got to college?
Once I got to college, kind of the the transition just into writing, I guess, college papers, lab reports, just any paper. QI kind of led me onto that to begin with. The papers you write here are very similar. In fact, sometimes harder than the ones I had to write at college. A lot of my college essays are actually easier than what I did in high school. So just transitioning over to college writing is pretty easy coming out of QI.
That's good to hear. What was your biggest challenge adjusting to college life?
Specifically for me, since I went into college in 2020, everything was online, everything was over Zoom. I spent every day just in my dorm on the computer. And I'm a very visual learner. I learn way better in person. So it was a very difficult first couple semesters for me when everything was online and I just couldn't go to a classroom.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of students from your class and the class after yours, ran into similar issues. So when you were at QI, what were some of the things you were involved in?
I did high Q once, I think. I did one match of that. I think that's pretty much the only thing I did here. I played sports, but not here. I played baseball for Crescent City. Other than that, I wasn't really involved in QI besides web crew, which was a very small group of us just coding and building a website. Me, Duncan Mundy, Mason Freeman, Clara, others. We had a volunteer program to code a website for the Putnam County Rails to Trails, and we did that.
That's cool. So you mentioned you played baseball. What was it like being a varsity athlete for Crescent City while attending QI?
It wasn't the easiest thing in the world just because it's an hour drive every day to get to practice from here. So I was driving 30 minutes from home to get here, and then an hour down to Crescent City, and then 30 minutes from there to get back home. So I had a lot of commute time whenever I was playing for them. But it's really good just to have an extracurricular, something else to do other than just school. So it was really fun. I didn't hate it, but the drive was definitely the worst part of it.
Do you think it was worth it?
I think it was definitely worth it, just to build the friendships I had with the guys on the team and just to have fun.
That's awesome. So what are some things you're involved in college now?
In college, I'm not directly involved with anything with the university. I am part of the National Society of Collegiate Scholars, I think, in SCS. I'm a part of that just because it's a honors program and they have some benefits. I attend meetings every now and again, but I'm not there as often as I should be. I've recently just joined a boxing gym, so just something to do outside of school. But other than that, it's basically just class, come home, cook, eat, study.
Lather, rinse, and repeat, right?
Pretty much.
So coming out of QI, do you feel that you were prepared for college?
I feel like I was definitely prepared for college in terms of just the academic strain, but I guess living by yourself is a little bit something you're never going to really be prepared for until you just jump into it. So definitely transitioning to the dorms for my first year with some roommates I knew from here at QI was a good idea, but then the apartment the year after was a little bit of a different change, cooking for myself, just living by myself like that.
So some cooking classes for seniors.
Cooking would be great. I'd picked up a lot, but it's definitely been a big change.
Awesome. So what advice would you give current QI students?
I would say that a lot of the stuff you do at QI that you think may be quote unquote busy work, a lot of it's not so much busy work. Some of the worksheets you do, I'm taking organic chemistry. We had a worksheet we had to do every single time we were in class, and we had to turn it in before we were allowed to leave. And it's not really busy work when you're doing the practice problems. That's how you learn, is just the practice problems over and over and over again on subjects like that. So a lot of the work you do here at QI is going to directly translate over to college.
That's some great advice. Last question I have for you is, what's next?
Well, right now I'm trying to figure that out in a sense, but forensic science work, I'll probably end up somewhere in a lab working cases, so working on crimes. Hopefully at a career with the FBI would be great, but that's the top of the top, so I may just end up in a lab for a little bit before I go there. But really just something in the forensic science field, hopefully doing some sort of lab work, looking at trace evidence and such.
That's awesome. So we'll see you on the next CSI reboot.
Hopefully.
Awesome. Do you have anything else you want to share with our listeners?
I think that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. Just want to take the time to give another big thank you to Logan and Morgan for taking the time and joining us on the podcast. Listeners, if you like the podcast, please be sure to subscribe so that you can catch future episodes, and be sure to give QI Roberts Student Government a follow on Facebook and Instagram to stay up to date on future episodes and happenings around QI. I'm really looking forward to getting the listenership of the podcast up, so please share this with a friend. And if you are an alumni or know any alumni that would be great to have on the podcast, we're going to do this again probably in the spring around May, June time. So go ahead and send them my information, send them my way. Thank you, Knights, and remember, excellence in all endeavors.